Good day, listeners from around the world. You are listening to the Wide World of Motorsports podcast, and we're recording this edition for the week of February 21st, 2021. And here I am with co-host Mike. You know, it's funny, in regards to IMSA, it definitely doesn't seem like there's too much going on right now.
Yeah, actually, even once in a while, even though it's really quiet, you get a little bit of news that comes the way of us. And you know, Corvette Racing is talking about running the new Corvette C8R in a couple of the World Endurance Round races this year, one or at least two, I believe, and which is unusual for them, right? Typically, Corvette only ever runs at Le Mans, which is a WC event, and I don't think a lot of people realize, but you can't just go to Le Mans. Like, you can't just say, oh, we're going to race at Le Mans. Like, you can have a team together and a car and drivers and go, we're going to go to the Daytona 24-hour. You pay your entry fee, as long as, you know, your drivers are qualified drivers to be on the track and stuff like that, and you have the car and the car is correct. They can, but more than likely they're not going to say no. But Le Mans is not like that. You need to be invited. There are guaranteed spots. Like, if you win the championship in the European Le Mans series, that's an automatic invite. If you win the championship in IMSA, that's an automatic invite. If you win the Truman Aiken Award in IMSA, which is an award for a gentleman driver who's won the championship or finished highest in the championship, you get an automatic invite. But everyone else has to apply and be accepted. And Corvette has always just kind of had that running, acceptance. There's no question that they're going to be at Le Mans. Well, last year was the first Le Mans, and as long as I can remember, like 15 years, that Corvette didn't race at Le Mans. And of course they didn't go because of COVID. That were the restrictions. But last year was the very first year for the new Corvette. And them not going to Le Mans or anything like that. They did Sebring that year, and they were going to go do Le Mans. Or no, they didn't do it that last year. They did it the year before, the Super Sebring, when the WEC raced at Sebring the same time as IMSA. They raced a Corvette, and I think that was part of their what we call like BOP process. So the WEC isn't just going to allow a new car in without making sure that it's competitive or not too competitive, so to speak, or too good. So they need data, right? And the only way they get data is they run practice, and the governing bodies collect all the data. So the thought behind it, and it might have actually been said, I just haven't really, I forget. I read the article, a week or 2 weeks ago. I'm pretty sure that they're looking at doing the WEC races so they can get BOP'd, so they can go do Le Mans in 2021. So that's kind of that's pretty big news, because that's really, the
ball is rolling.
Yeah, the ball's rolling.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of moving parts people don't think about.
Yeah, and it's a big. It doesn't seem like a big thing for a race team to go racing. But they're going to be bringing that Corvette to tracks that I think that I don't believe they've ever been to. So they have zero data. They're only bringing one car. They're not bringing both the cars. But you got to be careful, because you could destroy a car, and that's a lot of money to be blown.
They're a little bit more expensive than
yeah.
And then, going into, so we're just 3 or so weeks away.
Yeah,
Looking into going into, okay, so we're going to be spring is around the corner, and that's going to be a good. I think we're going to hear probably a lot more stuff in the IMSA world coming up to that race.
Yeah, hopefully. Like I said, it's been a bit of a slower news story. I'd say that's the biggest story that's come out in the last little bit.
Yeah, and then there's there's people that some names that are going to be considered for that upcoming race early here. What do you think?
That's a hard one.
Too early to call.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I would like to see practicing because that's a tough track. And they're all pretty good at it.
Kevin Magnussen. I'm gonna throw a name in there, and his team. Chip Ganassi.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
I would
easy
say
name to throw in.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a pretty good bet in there, and even the 48 Ally or Alley racing with Jimmy. And
Ally or Alley.
Yeah, I don't know. What's it pronounced? Is it Alley? Ally. Okay.
Like your friend.
Yeah. So, you have to keep them into it, like in contention for sure.
Yeah, and it's going to be a good couple of weeks leading up to that, because there's obviously a lot of other things to distract us going into things. Even today, for instance, there's some testing done from Romain Grosjean at Barber Motorsports Park, and he's a part of a 12-car test today, and he says he's feeling good. He says between the difference of the F1 and the IndyCar, everything feels good and normal to him, despite that there is a difference, obviously, with no power steering.
Yeah.
He's obviously jumping from series to series, you got to learn stuff. So he's got stuff to learn, right?
Yeah. Well, it's great, and it's great to see Roman back in a car after that terrible accident in Bahrain, where he went through the barrier there and had his hands all burnt up and everything. So it's good to see him back in a car.
He did say he had some soreness in his arms recovering from that burnt left hand. So,
yeah, no doubt.
And I think he did spin off as well in his test. So
yeah, IndyCars aren't easy to drive. I think IndyCar is growing a lot right now, but I think sometimes people don't give it its due or its credit. But an IndyCar isn't an easy thing to drive, that's for sure.
And more towards later on in the season, whenever CTCC starts up, the Canadian Touring Car Championship presented by Pirelli, their races will be aired on TSN for the 2021 season.
Yeah, that's great.
For us Canadians, us Canucks up here.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to actually see them race as a series at Motorsport or CTMP, and it's an entertaining series to watch. It is. I'm not going to lie and say it's IMSA or Formula One, but it's good racing. Yeah,
I'm usually satisfied. Now we don't have. I'm usually eating sandwiches and relaxing during those, because we don't have any. You have to get, as a media, you have to get a license or something like that from Pirelli to take pictures and post their cars.
Oh, really?
So I have no business of anything to do with there's. So that's usually when I'm chilling out and I get to watch them zip by, and there's always it's always fun to, and they're really loud, obviously, and they're on during the more chill times of the day. Like they'll have a session in the beginning of the day or like at the end or something like that. And
yeah, they're definitely not the headlining series, but they're still good. And it's just nice to see TSN supporting another Canadian series.
True. TSN. A couple of years ago, I doubted them. I didn't think they wanted to appeal to race fans, and other than the truck race apparently isn't available to some people on Fox Sports Racing in Canada, and
Oh, really?
they can't get Fox Sports Racing like in Brantford or whatever, or some cities. So
Weird.
I don't know why, but they had no way to watch a truck race. So hopefully TSN can also throw on some truck races on their
That would be cool.
because like they might as well at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because you're seeing those Canadian drivers from the series, from the Pinty series, racing in the truck series. So TSN should cover that here.
Too. And either way, we're giving TSN a pat on the back and saying do more, but
exactly.
Still, nonetheless, though, for the Canucks up here, and that's good for us.
Speaking of a NASCAR series,
yes, it was a good weekend.
Yeah, it was.
It was good.
I like that road course. You'd think by now you'd be sick of it because it's been like a month, and it almost feels like it's been a month of Daytona stuff, whether it be on the road course or the oval, but
or Florida stuff,
But I like that. I like it, and I'm actually really digging the chicane on the front stretch there.
So there was a lot of talk about the entertainment value of things on the races on the weekend, and that being one of them. But what did you think about Turn 6? Because there was more action in Turn 6 than any other turn.
Yeah, which one's Turn 6 now? Now you caught me off guard with that.
So that's going into NASCAR 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There was some people spinning there all day.
Yeah. You know what though? That's a tricky spot, right? That's not. You come out of the infield section on apron, right? Like an apron of a racetrack isn't exactly smooth. Like it's usually pretty bumpy. Surprisingly, like you wouldn't expect it to be bumpy, but it's a tricky. You're on the power and you're turning because it's like it's a hairpin and that opens up, right?
Mm-hmm.
In rallying they call that they'd say a hairpin opening to a 3 or something like that. So it's a corner that you're hard on the brakes and then you're early on the gas because you do have a lot of runoff there, right? It's like it's almost inviting to go wide or whatnot.
There's rumble strips up kind of high where you can hit, and so it does feel like you can hit it wide.
Yeah, for sure. So
and then so there was some action there, which threw a lot of people off because they didn't think you would think about the final chicane, and you would think that would be the big, the big spot judging off of what happened with the clash. But there was a lot. I really like it when I was watching all the races this weekend. Especially considering with the rain playing a factor in a couple of the races, and the great equalizer.
Yeah, and how cool is that? I know the cars use the oval there, but how cool is that NASCAR, went ahead and did it, right? They didn't rain delay the race. They put them on wet tires and let them go.
But the one thing though is that they threw a caution so that apparently they throw a caution so that they can come in to get rain tires if the track is considered a wet condition. So there was a point in the race where Chase was so far ahead on Sunday, and we'll get to more of Sunday's race there and what happened with Chase. So Sunday had a little bit of action. Saturday with Ty Gibbs winning, and then Sunday with Ben Rhodes opening the season 2 for 2, and it was for him opening up a season in such a way that you can't deny that. That's a good little thing That's a good little feat. But the race went into 3 overtimes, and it was the most yellow flags ever in a road course race in the trucks. So, and it was, it kept going and going. It was starting to look to the point where people didn't have enough fuel, and people were starting to run to get more fuel from the infield, the gas, like they're basically gas stations, right? So like they're going in there, they're getting fuel and stuff, and some guys were already on. They had no tires left, so they kept going to these overstarts. So,
no, that was the other one.
But it took 3 overtime starts to see Ben Rhodes there win the race, and the third time for a Toyota driver to open up the series with back-to-back wins. So
it's
Toyota's
great.
Going good.
That's a. I love the truck series. I think it's such a cool series, and I hope nobody looks down on it and thinks it's just a bottom feeder series. It's a great series. You see a lot of good drivers come out of there. Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, a lot of other drivers that I'm missing for sure that came out of the truck series. And it had very successful Cup careers. So,
and there's still guys who just chill out in the truck series too. That Johnny Sauter, to name somebody, or Todd Gilliland, who's I think that's the son of
David.
Yeah. So,
yeah, and who's Matt Crafton is another one who lived in the truck. But then look at the other people who have. You had Ron Hornaday Jr. He had a little stint in the Cup Series, but he wasn't particularly successful.
Well, for this, you're seeing some of these guys' sons come in. So John Hunter Nemechek, he's really good in the trucks. Todd Gilliland, he did good in that race. John Hunter Nemechek, he actually won stage 1 and led 14 laps of the race.
Yeah,
he finished third though. But there's a lot of it's a great series. But for Friday though, a lot of these young guys in the race making their name. So for the beginning of the truck season, with that being said though, it looks like it's going to just get better from here. They got the dirt at Bristol in a month. So there's going to be a lot of these young guys, and like we were saying, there's still some older guys in the series. So, but with on the weekend though, with the wet conditions on Friday playing a factor, little did we know it was going to end up playing a factor on Sunday. But for the most part, for Saturday, Joe Gibbs he was able to celebrate a victory with his grandson Ty Gibbs, who won the race. And Joe Gibbs was apparently very emotional, and apparently it was visibly one of the best wins for him and for the organization. And it was the very first NASCAR National Series race for Ty Gibbs, and he jumped technically 2 steps. He's an ARCA guy. He went to Xfinity, not through the trucks. So he had a real fast car. He plowed his way through the field on the last 2 restarts to beat Xfinity Series champion Austin Cindric in double overtime. Yeah. So that was another exciting finish to the day, and that's when fuel and tires were starting to become a factor as well. So there was already like both Daytona races for me. It was solidified like these have to be staples for the rest. At least for the next few years, they got to make it first race Daytona Oval, second race Daytona Road Course, because it provides a lot of entertainment value. And Joey Logano was in the booth there, and he actually held the overall record for the youngest driver to win in the Xfinity Series. And then Ty Gibbs, he obviously he's taken that. So
yeah, well,
that's really cool.
I mean, to beat Austin Cindric too at a road course, like Austin's pretty good on the road courses, right? He's actually had some So Austin's had some practice in the Michelin pilots.
And he did good last year at the Xfinity Indy road course that they did there.
Yeah, and so he's good. So for Ty to come in, not a regular in that series by any means. I mean, he's supposed to do about 14 starts this year. Obviously, this being one of them. He's running full time in ARCA, so I mean, that's awesome. Good for him.
Yeah, and with Joe Gibbs racing and Toyota looking very good for them earlier on in the season, and with going into Sunday with Christopher Bell when he hunted down Joey Logano, another Penske driver. So there was definitely some Joe Gibbs on Penske violence this past weekend.
Yeah,
in the closing laps in the Xfinity and the Cup race, and the Daytona Road Course was that race was the 38th start for Christopher Bell in the Cup, if I'm reading it correctly, and a caution for a brief rain shower, which was my favorite part of the race, and a little disappointing though because there's a lot of talk about what happened. Chase Elliott, he was gone, and then they threw the track looked fine to me, and turns out they didn't need rain tires, but they threw the caution so that they could change the tires, which is apparently a rule. Mm-hmm. And even Chase was in disbelief. He was saying on the scanner, that he was like he was like sold on it. He was like, that wasn't for weather. Like he was like positive, like, oh no, like that
really?
Was he. I'm not implying that NASCAR is cheating or rigging anything, but Chase Elliott was pretty sure things were not in his favor there. But he probably should have won that race, and his road course win streak ended there due to a brief rain shower, which, during commercial break, you see like this rain it's raining sideways. Like it was bad, but it wasn't for long. And just like that, next thing you know, it was clearing up, and, Logano ended up somehow getting an advantage with all that, with that situation. Kurt Busch was looking good. He spun out. Larson was looking good. He spun out.
Yeah, obviously, he hit the tires pretty hard, too.
Yeah. Obviously, with Chase, he could have got back up, but he got off in the grass, and that probably cleared everything for him. So.
Did you see that save, though?
This is a good save. And what's crazy, too, with the camera angle they had, you could see right in the car, and you could see his hands.
Him working.
Yeah. And that was pretty cool, too. That's another reason why I think they need to keep this course on, because it's good for TV, and, just like they didn't have to worry about, like, anything, like lights on. Like I think that's so cool, like being able to be at a road course and not have to worry about darkness. Like,
yeah, of
there's
course.
Just something, or rain, other than lightning, but whatever. But for Keselowski, he got lucky. He ended up having a bad race early and got back up. Kevin Harvick as well. He low key slipped a 6th place in, just ahead of AJ Allmendinger, racing for his first time in the Cup since 2018.
That's awesome. Great to see AJ back in there.
And with him and his deal in the Xfinity, he had a crap situation, happening with Stage 1 on Saturday. So there's a lot of names in there. And if you look at the championship standings now, there's just like guys there you don't think get in it. So I'm saying, on top of that, going into Homestead this weekend, going to be interesting to see with them going to a bit of more of an intermediate course. You start off with the super speedway, you get your road course in, you get your intermediate in, and then Phoenix, which some consider like a short track. So even though you run it like a road course, so you get a bit of everything in the first 4 races of the year. And right now it's up in the air, but Joe Gibbs and Toyota, you got to say they're, I'm going to say that they're going to be a factor into things. Obviously, so many podcast guys can say that, but judging so far, they had a pretty good start of the season.
Benny was super strong at Daytona, right?
With Hamlin and
so Toyotas are strong again, and Joe Gibbs that's a strong organization.
Yeah, Denny got 3rd on Sunday. So
that's good.
McDowell actually finished 8th, so not like he's got 2 top 10s to begin the season.
I'll give that to him. You know what though? Can I talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, he's a Ford guy.
Yeah.
So
I didn't realize I did a bit of digging on McDowell because I know he's been in the Cup Series for a while, right? And where he came from, I didn't realize he plied his trade doing road course racing. He raced in Champ Car before it went back to, they went back to IndyCar.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So he was an open wheel, single seater guy before he was a NASCAR guy.
Well, he's up there. He finished up there with the big names of NASCAR because Kurt Busch ended up getting back up to fourth.
Did he really?
So there was a lot of guys that got lucky, and and that's what I like about a race is there was almost a bit of it's you got to stay out of crap. There is I don't know if that's how an endurance race is also kind of one too, right? You're 100%. It's who's running in one piece at the end of it, and a lot of that was there. There was cars that were just torn apart, and it was. I thought it was good, and we were talking about the entertainment factor, and a lot of that's being criticized right now. A lot of people are not happy that there's just a lot of, apparently there's people already sick of road course racing, but who cares what they have to say, right? But yeah, but you know what? Those people and those type of people, I think, are still upset that they don't run at the beach in Daytona. Yeah, we should be back on the beach.
Yeah,
exactly.
That
would be dope, but it's one of my favorite places in the world that I've ever been to, and the Racing's North Turn. Shout out to them. I got a Glenwood burger. It was fucking good. It was good. Yeah, damn it, bring them back. What are you saying, Wallace? Bring them back to the beach, damn it. What are you saying?
They're going to the beach. They're going to a mini beach, okay, in Bristol.
Hey, I think that'll be cool. And yeah, next thing you know, that'll be after all this you get a little taste of everything. Well, they're going to throw dirt in too. This is wow, that's pretty cool. You get a bit of everything at the beginning of the season. This is what we got for the rest of the season. It's okay. Freaking fantastic job by NASCAR what they did so far with the schedule this year, and that road course wasn't even supposed to happen that weekend.
No, it wasn't. I agree. I feel that NASCAR has been stepping out of the box. Sometimes some of those things you would you remember talking about, how cool would it be if NASCAR ran on the dirt, and you'd sit there and go, they'll never do it. NASCAR will never do something like that. And they're doing it.
Yeah.
I've always wanted more road courses in the Cup Series. One, I'm a road course guy. I do like them, so I'm a little biased, but also because I know it's good racing. And
so, yeah, there's a bit of that, but I also did notice, at least for the trucks in the Xfinity, there was more guys in there and gals in there that, maybe for some of them, that's some of their first times on a road course. And you could tell. But a bit of it was you guys got to get on that. Cause
you mean the big kerfuffle at pit exit with the Xfinity cars?
Yes. It's you guys need to
how do you not know?
Figure that out. Because this ain't going away. Your season is going to have more and more probably eventually we're seeing more and more double the amount of road courses ever now. So I think it's time you see a guy like Chase who's he's got road course races down. That's going to get you into the playoffs no matter what. You win the road course races of the year. You take advantage of it on everyone else, and that's the secret, I think. That's the secret potion to get into the chase.
The funny thing about the road courses is that everybody's good at the road courses, right? Remember when it used to be, Gordon was good at road courses. There really wasn't a whole lot of other guys, but then you would get the ringers, right? You'd get Robbie Gordon, Ron Fellows. Yeah. You get those guys.
Boris said.
You get those guys in to run those cars. But now the drivers are running those tracks and doing good. I really don't know if I would have ever thought Chase was going to be a road course guy, so to speak.
He got his chops. You know what? He popped his cherry at Mosport.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
in the truck series. So
we're supposed to go to that one, but I had to miss it. Damn it.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So, but it's nice to see. Yeah, I mean, we, like you said, we've doubled the amount. We used to go to Sonoma and Watkins Glen, and now we still do those, but now we're doing the Daytona Road. We got the Charlotte Roval, and you see the Xfinity series and the Truck series, venturing out of what would be the NASCAR norm. The Daytona Road Courses in Daytona. The Charlotte Roval is in Charlotte, but then you see, nationwide Xfinity series go to, Road America. You see them go to Mid Ohio, which I love that track.
There's definitely some diversity.
Yeah, and then you see the Truck series in Canada.
Hopefully this year we'll be there, man. We got some stuff in the works for the peoples. We got some stuff in the works. Should be good.
Hopefully we don't get too affected by COVID.
Yeah. And it's interesting how you mention your passion, like how you're a road course guy.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be a good time we get into some of the origins of why we're race fans, and it would be interesting to talk about that on the podcast. I think. What do you think?
I think it'd be great. I hope some of our listeners would be interested in knowing, why we like what we like and where it all began.
We ain't fake. We got roots in the racing.
Yeah.
And I think just this week we were really good. I'd have to say we dominated in our league. I'm going to say it. Damn it, we dominated in our league. And and in our iRacing league and sim racing, and I think in the Vidget games, the racing games, I think that's for sure something that if I were to pick something to start off with for this series, is I'm going to have to definitely choose the racing sims and the racing games that got me into racing and has kept me a racing fan throughout all these years.
Yeah, me too. The racing games have definitely. Or racing sims have definitely been a big part of my younger years growing up and growing that passion.
So if we're going to be speaking about games, there's going to be one thing that needs to be mentioned, especially with simulators. NASCAR Racing 2003 season, 18 years, or no, actually, yes, 18 years, 2003. So February 4th that came out. So. That I remember apparently at one point that was taken off the shelves, and I got it as it was on the shelves. So, I clearly got it within a couple months of it coming out. So, I haven't.
You still playing it?
I haven't put it on my new gaming PC yet, but I easily could.
You should.
And there's some cool tracks too that you can download. So.
See, I haven't played that game in a long time.
Well, because you can download the Pinty Series cars and paint schemes, and you can run like some guys made Chicasa, Toronto. Like Toronto Indy is pretty damn good. Like I've spent a lot of time doing Toronto Indy on there. Like there's some good, and then there's Sunset. Like there's some good tracks that you can do on there. Like it's pretty good, and people still update it. So. Like,
really? It's
still updated. All you got to do is just Google NASCAR Racing 2003 season or NR2K3, and then it's also easy to access as well if people don't have it. I won't get into detail there, but you can figure it out. But yeah, like it is pretty damn good, and so that was. The executable file off it is apparently has similar coding than the iRacing executable. So it's basically based off of, it was built off of NR2K3.
Is he, so the guy who started iRacing, is he the same guy who did the NASCAR 93?
So for that, I believe, so the connection with that was through Papyrus.
Yeah,
and then,
okay, it is him. It is him.
Yeah.
Then, what's his name? David Kemmer.
Yeah. So
He
that
did Grand Prix Legends too. That was his other big.
He basically, yeah, like there's tons, like the early 90s, like the Indy app. He did like basically also early indie games too, like IndyCar, not just independent, but yeah, like he did a lot of cool stuff with all that, and then iRacing, which we were just talking about, and how that's a big time dump. It's like a rabbit's hole. So that would end up going to be iRacing, and in a way it's really cool because it's still, honestly, like it's the same layout almost on screen, and it really does feel the same a lot of the times. It really does feel like it's the same game, but it's obviously a lot better now. It doesn't look like.
I'd have to play it again.
Oh yeah, especially with the NASCAR Pinty stuff, that is because it's local, and there's a really good like 2019 version of Jucasa in it, and it is pretty fun. Like I've done a few hours in that.
Is it laser scanned or
so?
Is it...
With those, it's not, but like some of them are pretty damn good.
Wow.
Yeah, some of them are pretty damn, because there is a program, and there are a lot of people that dedicate their time on, like there's a way they can do it through Google Maps, and they can actually get the precise measurements at least. So,
Really?
and depending on if it's like a cookie cutter track, like you can just take some telemetry that is from some of the other track files, because they also do that too with building the tracks, is they actually use real life telemetry from the cars, and that's how they used to do it. That's how the EA guys used to do it. And then when iRacing started doing the laser scans, but it's not cheap though. Apparently, like a track has to pay like tens of thousands of dollars to get onto iRacing. Apparently, so
on one of the podcasts, other podcasts I listened to as well, Dinner with Racing.
It's worth it though.
It's totally worth it. They interviewed David Kemmer, the creator of iRacing, and you get to hear a lot, kind of some of the stuff you're talking about. You get to hear a lot about that, like where it came out. And I believe he said it cost them somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 to laser scan a car. So for them to build a car in iRacing, it costs them
pretty damn good though. Like it does come out pretty damn good.
It does. Like, you know what's funny though about it though? Like it's just, and this really annoys me, is every time iRacing announces some new content, the typical, internet people it's always, oh, well, why isn't it my car? Or, nobody's ever just happy with what they do. And it was funny it was great, not funny, it was great to listen to him talk about iRacing, because you get to see what goes into it. It's not, they talk about tires. So the hardest thing for them to develop is tires.
But
that relationship of the tire to the track, right? So they got to build the tires. Well, for them to build tires, they actually literally cut tires apart so they can build them.
That's pretty cool.
In the game, it's really cool. He says some car companies will send iRacing CAD drawings of the cars.
Oh,
yeah.
So like there you go. Can't really get all that much better than that, I guess.
No. He said that some companies don't, and then they get a car from a team, and they're measuring pickup points and geometry, and they're weighing every part of the car so they can get the inertias right, and it's
wish I paid attention to that more in auto class when we got into that, especially with AutoCAD and stuff. Wish we I think it was like a vehicle, throwing it back to the old school days. Kids, pay attention in class, because you'll learn this stuff and it's useful stuff because it'll bite you back in the ass someday.
Yep, 100%, 100%.
Amen, brother. But yeah, like we didn't do a episode since then. I have to do a tribute to, especially for me, loving sim racing and NASCAR and computer games in general. Like that's got to be, if you were to give me a top 5 of all time games, that one's up there. So
really,
well, for me it has to be because I've spent many hours on it. So
you know, if I had to go back to my NASCAR games, that really me, because I'm not an old school computer guy. Like I didn't, I didn't get a computer until I was much older at my house with my parents. But I remember playing it on Xbox or actually PS2, NASCAR, I think 2004. And I remember that was a big year because that was the change for the Chevy cars, the way they looked.
Okay.
They looked more like the street car, like the rear end of them.
Yeah.
But I think one of my favorite ones was NASCAR Total Team Control.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
The rival system or whatever it was in there, and being able to actually select someone to like help you out in some instances.
And I liked the idea that you started in the Wheel and Modified series, and
it was pretty good career mode as well in there.
It was a cool career mode. Like it's funny because I talk about this with other people, you know, the way new video games are, or people that are a little younger than me, you know, by 10 years or something, and we talk about video games, and we'll talk about you know, career modes and how games used to have good career modes and they don't anymore. You know, a story. Like, did you ever play Toka Race Driver?
No.
Oh, that was such a cool game. And that game, like Toka Race Driver 3, you got to race. You did rally racing. You did open wheel racing, like INDYCAR or Formula One. You did NASCAR style racing. You did.
How come I've never heard of this?
I don't know. You should have. You did V8 Supercars. You did the transport trucks. Like
it was from Codemasters too. So
like, and it's an older game, but it's just one of those, like, and it had a great story.
Damn. Oh, it's so okay. It's if I ever go, those vintage game stores that I check out once in a while pre-COVID, I'd love to keep my eye out for that because I would totally put that in.
It's fun.
I'll actually
it was a fun game.
Keep my eye out for that one.
I think it was a PlayStation, on regular PlayStation.
Toka Race Driver 3 came out in 2006 for PS2 and Xbox.
Okay, there you go. So, and I would have played it on
everything Xbox. Else too. DS. There was ports to that. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I'll keep my eye out for that, even at thrift stores or you see them at pawn shops or something like that. That's a good. That's one of those gems that you kind of want. It was even on the PSP. That'd be dope. It could be something to keep my eye out for. That's a good one.
It's just one of those, like, I don't know. But what I really liked about it was there was an actual story to it. Like, you were an up-and-coming racing. Like, you start off in, like, British touring cars. And kind
of reminds me of Project Cars a bit. I don't know if you played that. That has a bit of that.
Oh, yeah, I did.
You start out in that area.
But this one starts as you're an up-and-coming driver. Like, they just put a good story into it, and I really
with how though. I don't know if you've played any of the those newer games by 2K with the NBA and the WWE, the WW. But yeah, like there's really really great storylines in those, and you can do face scans and stuff. And I think F1 apparently is close to that with the storyline stuff. There's apparently a good storyline in that one, or a career mode.
I have 2020 and it is. It's actually a very well done.
It's interesting how the real, like, almost true race fans, they're like, you would think the handling or like the physics of things or whatever, the real, like the track realism would be like a key, like it would be up there, but a lot of them mention the storylines or like the career mode. Like what, like a lot of people, that's where they kind of want to go. You know what? That might be the deciding factor.
Well, is that because the race fans that play video games are older, and we come from a generation of stories, right? Of storytelling,
right? Yeah.
In our video games, even look at the old Call of Duties and stuff like that. Like there was a whole purpose to it, right? It wasn't just. Well,
it also depended on how you did too. So if you did crap in a race, then you'd get a text from whoever, like your manager would tell you, or maybe you didn't get enough point, you didn't get as much points as you could have, or something like that. There was like sometimes consequences, and then maybe if you did something really good, you'd get invited to an invitational for some bonus points, or like you'd get. I remember in the old EA games or whatever, there was these side events you could do with real life drivers, and they were like street races, like that stuff, like that was cool. There was cameos. Like I remember I forget what the drivers did, but Ryan Newman and someone else were in the EA game. They actually did a voice, like they just did a little scene.
Oh, really?
Like that, little stuff like that. Like I don't even think that really hurts either. Like it was corny as hell, but it was cool. Yeah, because in the beginning you street raced with Ryan Newman, and looking back at that idea of it now, it's just crazy. But
well, yeah, it just gives something else to the game, right? I mean, like I said, a lot of the video games now are just. There's no story. They're all these,
It's base. It's so basic. Like the new NASCAR games are just race. So it's like there's a season mode in online.
Yeah, see,
no paint, no anything.
I haven't liked the new NASCAR games for a long time because I thought the last one I bought was probably 06, and it was either too easy or too hard. I found there was no in the middle, or I was really, really good at certain tracks, like certain short tracks. And then when it came to the bigger tracks, I was absolute garbage. Maybe that was just me, but I didn't like the game. I really haven't enjoyed NASCAR games until iRacing.
Yeah, same. Yeah. All that I look back, all that now, it was like, even I know people now who they can't do iRacing, and it's like, and they just stick to the NASCAR games. It's like you're really missing out. Like it's like I'd rather suck or be good at iRacing than like just some like arcade game.
Well, see, and one of the reasons why people shy away from iRacing is because it's not cheap, right? It's expensive.
Oh yeah. You got to get. I feel like getting it that time of the year where they always have a deal or a discount. Like that's probably keep your eye out. If you're not in iRacing, it's too expensive. Just keep your eye out on the times of the year that it might be on sale. Like you could get a good there's a really good deals. Some of them like you could get $20 or $30 off of what. So if you get like a whole year, it's like 120. So I think you could have paid under 100. I think for a year when it was on sale. I just do 60. I just do it every 6 months because who knows when I want to just take a break. Like so.
Oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. See, I do it this my second time subscribing. I did the year. It was a deal. And I think it was Boxing Week sale, and it was. I should have looked out for.
I should have looked out for that because I could have done a year too, but it would add it on, so I would have added like a year and because I just got the 6 months taken out, so it would have been like a year and a half iRacing. Like, do I really want to? Yeah. Is that really? But do it all at once, maybe? Like, I don't know. It's like, is that a commitment almost? Like, Jesus, I don't want to waste that much of my life. Like,
well, see, the other thing
we're
I
adults.
Find
we're adults now.
Yeah, but the other thing I find is if I'm not racing, I feel guilty. I feel a little guilty because I've paid for it.
I know what you mean.
And paid, not decent money, but I paid money for it, and then I've bought this track, I've bought that track. Oh. they are racing at that track. Well, shit, I should probably do that race because I did buy that track, but I don't know. Some days I really enjoy it. Some days I absolutely hate it. I think that's like anything, though.
Yeah, and maybe a bit of that too is because we're batting around the idea of us speaking about some of our origins and why we're race fans, and that's got to be a big key for me is also growing up with the technology that was there, like the computer, like really back then, like you didn't really need I don't know, you didn't really like gaming computers the way they are now definitely weren't like they were back then though. Like you didn't get a gaming computer that was like had an invisible side, these crazy tubes, like copper tubes, keeping shit cool. It's like the people have water, they pour water into. There's computers now they pour water into, so it's water cooled. Like that just like that wasn't a thing in 2003 because a lot of the computer like they were so basic back then. They're like all white towers or cream colored ugly towers. Like there really wasn't anything crazy with the specs. Like most things were Intel. Like most of the processors were relatively close back then. So like you could do a lot of stuff. There's a lot of games you could play on your computer or PlayStation, and that was convenient too. Because it was like, well, I like racing, so I would, whenever the race was on, maybe I would do an actual race on my PS2 or something like that, or, it would be throughout the week. Maybe I would do like a season, trying to do it like the actual real life season. I'd do a race or something like that, or like it kind of it kind of went hand in hand. And back then they used to advertise the NASCAR games a lot better, especially when they were with EA. They did a lot better. There was a NASCAR Heat car in the Daytona 500, but they did a lot better back then, though. Regardless, like, because I don't know what it was. Maybe just it was more cooler back then. But regardless,
there's less race fans, right? Racing's just not bringing in the same fans,
right?
And the video game industry is different.
Phone games.
Yeah, well, there's sim racers, and that would be us. And it's like we just said, it's expensive. It's not a cheap thing to get into, and it's a commitment. Some people don't want that commitment. Some people are console players. Some people don't realize that actually it's not. This is kind of contradictory, but it's not as expensive as you think, in the sense of thinking about people who race on consoles and they have a steering wheel set up already. It's like, yeah, but you can get a computer now and do that, and it's better. But there's just better ways to spend their money, I guess, when it comes to marketing sometimes.
Yeah, and with these next gen consoles, it's like, I'm like, why do I don't need it. There's nothing on it that is crazy that I need. I have my rig, my setup here, my Logitech G29, and it's going on. Actually, I've had it for 2 or 3 years now, like this week or last week. And I can't believe how there's no dead zone. Yeah. It's still good to go. The force feedback's fine. It doesn't smell as leathery as it used to because it's real leather. But
nice.
I'd rather tell people, screw getting a PS5. Just get yourself a wheel. Maybe get yourself a gaming, upgrade your gaming card or something like that. And you don't have to get the current one because that's a little crazy. You got to make sure your processor, your computer, your actual CPU is up to code with your GPU. But I just tell people, just do that. It's cheaper to do that, to build your own PC, because if you're a race fan too, well, you can just get I kind of got mine.
This will sound bad.
Pre-built.
Because I don't know anything about this stuff. I looked into it a little bit, and I have to admit,
it's a little crazy.
Laugh at me for this. I bought mine at Best Buy. The guy that helped us was really knowledgeable. My wife's
Nothing wrong with that.
Pretty knowledgeable, and so he had told us some stuff, and it matched up with what this guy was saying. It's an Acer. I don't know what it is. A Nitro gaming computer. It cost me, I think it was on sale for $850. So and then I got the warranty on it or whatever. So I think it came out to, after taxes and everything, $1,200, which is expensive. But I worked for it, and I stopped buying video games for the Xbox. I got rid of Xbox Live and stuff like that. It runs iRacing,
and that sometimes is all you need.
I haven't had an issue with it. I don't run everything to the max, but I run the cars and stuff. I see all the grandstands. I see people in the grandstands. I see all that stuff. And I've never had an issue.
Yeah, as long as you almost if there's no issues, it's no matter what the price is, it's almost hey, that was worth it. It could be any price in my head, as long as there's no issues, and it's going to be good for at least a couple years until there's issues.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that somebody that's really into computers or really into this isn't going to support triple 55s at full capacity, me running some $3,000 Fanatec setup. The computer's not going to run that. I get that.
That'd be sweet.
It'd be awesome, but
not realistic.
Not realistic. So that's okay though.
Yeah,
I'm happy. I'm not complaining about what I have.
And that stuff's always kind of amazed me too. It's I've had a few wheels in my time, it's always why would there are some random gamers out there that might grab a wheel, but honestly, there's got to be something that has always brought, especially I feel because I'm from the 90s, and at that point they were totally probably trying to market race fans towards the video games, and it worked. My dad got into it, and that's what got me into it. So, and that's a bit of another thing too, and I'm sure we should do a little bit of a series each episode once in a while and talk about our origins here and racing. It's actually this is a good start to that, and because that was something that's almost in some cases also kept me a race fan too when years were getting tough there in the mid to late 2000s. Even though it was great when Jimmy was winning, even though it was great, but so there's times too where it even till now, it's during when we raced in the Mayhem Racing League race in the weekend, there's a rain delay and we're all kind of just itching for some racing, and then we'll just hop on iRacing and win a race. It's pretty good.
It's funny when you say that, because I've found myself coming to iRacing after maybe being away for a bit, and I start doing races and I go, oh yeah, it gets you back into it, this is what I like.
For some of our other viewers and listeners out there who may enjoy iRacing occasionally, make sure you check out our Facebook page for some episodes of our streams of iRacing, the Wide World of Motorsports esports team. While you're there, you can check out past episodes of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast, as well as Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Make sure you check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the WWOMS for updates and news and commentary of all the happenings in the Wide World of Motorsports.
Hi, this is Alex Tagliani, NASCAR Pinty Series driver. You're tuned in from the track to the community on Wide World of Motorsports, the #1 motorsport show in the community. Sport show in the community. Sport show in the community. Sport show in the community.